Hello, everybody. Thanks a lot for the invitation. I'm very happy and proud to take part in this nice anniversary. 20 years or so is the age of majority, is the age when you begin to have a common history, a kind of identity, and I guess that the introduction by Pierre showed that actually you have an history, so it is very important to have this history. Myself, I can tell that I've contributed to the creation of 4 groups. One still stands, but the others, some have disappeared and others have merged. So I'm a kind of orphan of groups, and I guess that it is very important to have this common history. So it is a key stage, and I guess that this event is very important. For me, one of the importance of this event is that I guess that it is crucial to strengthen the French-speaking community, STS community, because without being too parochial, actually, the language is important, and it's something we know in STS. So I will go on with my poor Globish because of all the friends and colleagues who, cannot understand my very good French, but I'm sure that we have some other occasions to interact in our nice language. So, Andy has made a wonderful talk, and I guess that it is a very important take on these issues, and it is crucial to reflect on imperial structures, as he says, macro structures of power. My take will be somehow different. I will focus more on some incremental changes and some other positions we may have as STS scholars, so to say, and it will be. I will reflect on an experience which is very much hands-on, and to try to reflect on the role we may have as Harry would say modulators, or Andy would say this kind of political judo, and perhaps it's more aikido than judo, but it's another story. So it's about the issue of research impact assessment. Actually, yes, okay, I've got to find. So there's a lot going on about research impact assessment currently. A lot of so there's a kind of momentum on research impact assessment, though it's really not a new thing. It's rather an old way to tackle research, and for long economists and managers have looked at the impact of research. They've tried to demonstrate the importance of the economic impact of past research, or try to show how to allocate R&D budgets to improve impact and to improve mainly economic impact. And one may tell that people who work on research impact assessment are like putting old wine into new bottles, and that RII, research impact assessment, is just a matter of management, not an issue for research. I will argue that this is not the case, of course, and that there is now a new momentum for research impact assessment, and this will be the very first part of my presentation. And drawing on these, I will share some thoughts on the practices and policies of research impact assessment based on an intervention research I conducted in my own research organization, the National Institute for Agronomic Research. And this will lead both to reflect on research impact assessment and research impact assessment as a trading zone, and to the role of STS scholars when they perform research in context of action. So there was a time when we believe that there is a linear model of innovation, when we believe that scientific progress conducts to economic progress, which is the key driver of social progress. Okay, so the issue is to feed the golden goose, la poule aux œufs d'or. Here it is, of course, science, and we will move forward on the arrow of progress. So leave science free and unsteered, leave the markets play their role while correcting some of their failures, market failures, and you will get the best possible world. And it is a key position which has its historical roots and which is still very present in the academic milieu and in the political arena. All this is well known. What is also known is the way this discursive matrix emerge in the move toward deconceptualization of knowledge production activities in the 20th century and the strengthening of boundaries of science. What is also known is that other discourses coexist, scientific responsibility, critics of science, and so on. What is known is also that institutional devices were based on these alternative discourses, institutions for technology assessment, so forth, mission-oriented research organizations. So the reality is obviously complex and heterogeneous, but the master frame, the discursive matrix, was very much based on this linear model. So in this frame, R&D is considered as an investment that yields some economic benefits, and as for any other investment, it's considered useful to compute for instance, the internal rate of return of such investments. And many studies have been made. Many of them have been applied to the agricultural research. They were performed by agricultural economists in the US and by researchers working around the world, mainly in international agricultural research centers. This frame is still present, and the demand for computing the the return to investment of R&D is still there. However, my claim is that the master frame is now challenged. I'm lost. Yes, so a part of the challenge of this frame comes from our community, actually. So obviously, there is the story of Mode 1 to Mode 2 with all the debates which were triggered by this 1994 book. And so this kind of natural evolution of production of research which says that more and more there is a reconceptualization of production of knowledge, and obviously this book was very influential in Europe and elsewhere. But we know that there is a challenge of the linear model, which is replaced by interactive or turbulent models of innovation. And there we have a lot of contributions of history of technology, management science, but also some STS scholars like Calon and Latour, who proposed years ago this turbulent model of innovation. But there are also other drivers of change. Let me quickly focus on three of them. The first, perhaps, is the new public management. You know that for public institutions, new public management means management by measured performance. This translates into the spreading of the use of simple quantitative indicators. Scientometry is widely used to produce a uniform measure of scientific excellence. Here, the index. Don't see that as much. It's just a second degree kind of humor. The second move is related to academic capitalism. And of course, it changes a lot of things in the way research and higher education is governed, partly because the knowledge production is and knowledge is not considered universally as a public good, and we now have a lot of transformations of the production of and use of knowledge, which make that there is a market for knowledge, patent rights, market for education, and so on and so forth. And these are very important changes. And the third driver for change is within the community of economists, the debate on secular stagnation. There is a very intensive debate. Where the question is whether the economic growth we have experienced in the 20th century in many countries, not all the countries, but globally it was a very important period of growth. Is this experience reproducible in the 21st century? And actually, a lot of economists say just no. It's over. So the 20th century is just a parenthesis in the history. So this debate is key for the analysis of the interaction between innovation and economics. And one of the actors of this debate is Robert Gordon, who challenges one of the pillars of the master frame, the idea that innovation is the source of economic growth and so the source of progress. The argument of Gordon is that it is over. It's just over, finished. So we have to just change our mind. So there are many reasons to reflect on a change of paradigm. Obviously, it is always a matter of discursive matrix, so you can discuss. And in his talk, Andy said, okay, this is just blah, blah. It's well, we have we have to change everything in order to change nothing. So change the discourse and go on making as it is. I guess that we have to reflect on this. I guess that they are important triggers of change, and the discursive matrix and the mainframe is really a challenge. So it shows in the discourses of Horizon 2020. It shows also in the discourses of Barack Obama in the States. So in much OECD, BRICS country, and so on, there is now a different mood about research, and the issue of the research and the innovation has to address the great challenge is an important thing, and I think that we have to play with it. This we cannot just say yes, it's just a change of discourse, but not a change in the paradigm relating science and society. So my main point is that this change of discursive matrix leads us to explore new ways to tackle the issue of research impact assessment. So it's not just all wine is in new bottle. We can propose some other ways to make this research impact assessment. To do so, actually, we have some resources, obviously, and a bunch of people around the world work on these. I just mentioned here the work of Barry Bosman and Dan Sarevitz, who come with this issue of public values of science, and who have a strong claim, which says that science is not just the engine of growth, it is the engine of change. And we have to reflect on the impact of science broadly, taking into account the different areas of change. So they propose a methodology, and I won't go into the details, but we have to pay attention to this. So this is the context. The general context where we received a demand of the CEO of my institution, INRA, and INRA was under the pressure of the evaluation because of the first evaluation of INRA in its history. It's perhaps amazing that INRA, as a mission-oriented organization, had to ask the question of its societal impact, and which was not at all a question on its agenda. And so, obviously, when there is a kind of problem like that, they call sociologists and they say, can you do something for us? So we accepted to play the game, to play this kind of Aikido, political Aikido within our own institution. And to do that, actually, we constructed an approach which was based on several key ideas. So these ideas are not very sophisticated. They are very simple ideas, because one of the challenges was to construct an approach which would be appropriated by the institution. This was the objective. And so two key considerations were at the origin of this approach. One is that we have to shift from, when dealing with impact, we have to shift from attribution to contribution. Attribution is the way economists usually deal with the analysis of impact. They use an additive model, and they try to separate the origin of impact in order to say, okay, this is my part of the transformations which are observed. Obviously, it raises a lot of questions methodologically, but also a lot of basic questions. Analysis of contribution is based on qualitative analysis, qualitative process analysis within a specific context. And it's just, but it is not so easy, it's just understanding what is the specific contribution of an actor within a complex network or ecosystem without necessarily going into separation based on an additive method. And so, to do that, we took a very common concept, which is the concept of the research to impact pathway, and we rephrased this concept using mainly actor network theory. The second main input into this approach is that we considered upfront that it is necessary to take into account the issue of broader impacts, so not stick to the analysis of scientific or economic impact, but that it was crucial to somehow create some methodologies to measure other impact, political impact, environmental impact, social impacts, sanitary impacts. And that these impacts do not have to be reduced to the economic dimension, that it's not a matter of euro, that this impact and these dimensions are important as such. The second key ingredient of the approach was the idea of standardization of cases. So this approach is based on case studies, but these case studies are performed with same analytical tools in order to. I guess that the impression is that to eat one's cake and have it. So avoir le beurre et l'argent du beurre, and so being able both to do a quasi-ethnographic and to perform a thick analysis, so very idiosyncratic analysis, but at the same time collect some data in a standardized way in order to create a general database and be able to perform a cross-cutting analysis and to generalize the results. So we have the different stories, and we have 41 stories so far like this, and each story is a word, obviously, and we also have this cross-cutting analysis. So the general model is there, so we have to have a rationale for selecting the cases because there is an issue of representativity, of course. We have then on the central part of the slide the different tools which were systematically mobilized, and then at the bottom of the slide this idea that we have to we have built a database and perform quasi statistical analysis. So it took us close to 5 years actually interacting, so working on the project and interacting with the institution. So what was very important is that actually we were in kind of we were responding to a command of the institution, but negotiating the space for performing our research, and it is one of the part of the Aikido in this story. And so what was key is that we developed some strategies in order to interest the different actors of INRA and to enroll them into our process. So in the pilot phase, we had we did 14 case studies, and we had the support of an international advising committee, which was of course very important for the creation of the legitimacy and the credibility of the approach. And then in the pilot phase, actually, we enrolled the scientific divisions of INRA who were in their own assessment exercises, and they used the methodology within their exercises. So we shifted from 14 case studies to 41, and now actually we are in the third phase where this approach is implemented on a routine base, and so we gather information and we strengthen the approach on quasi a daily basis. So actually, in this context, we achieved to we had some outputs and some important outcomes, and the methodology now is the approach is used again at INRA, but it's being used in other institutions. So on a very modest exercise, we have kind of success with this approach. So it yielded a lot. well, some results on impact. So these results, some of them are obvious, they are well known, but it is, well, the thing is that they are based now on a database, and the results are more and more robust. So one of the results is that distribution of impact is highly skewed. So there are very few projects who have very high results, and this is about just about how research is. Actually, you cannot expect that all the research yields some societal impact. Some do, some don't, and a very few do. But actually, this highly skewed distribution hidens the fact that you may have tiny impacts which may be of very important societal relevance, and this is related to the issue of diversity that Andy likes so much, and that which is so important, and it is a key issue when we reflect on impact. The second thing on the diversity of impact, actually, we did what was very important is to show that there is not only economic impact that matter, but other types of impact matter. And so in the current context, in order for them to be politically important, there is an issue of measure of these other impacts. So many other results showed up in this exercise. But I won't go into the details of this. We did also some characterization of impact pathway, and the idea is that the modality of impact of research may be very different according to the type of socioeconomic context, to the type of disciplines, to the types of goals which are targeted, and so on and so forth. And so one important thing was to give some robustness to this idea of diversity while reducing it, and to show that actually the way research interacts with society may be very, very different, and that and what we showed in on the 41 cases is that and of course it's just for INRA, we have to do that in other organizations, but is that the highest impact actually are related to cases where there is a high level of co-production, so where the research is very much related in different heterogeneous networks, which allows actually both to bring knowledge and translate it and transform the milieu of diffusion. So to finish with actually some reflections of on this experience. So I guess that the overall lesson is that in this case it was possible to perform this kind of modulation in an institutional dynamics. So I guess that we were not just observers, but we contributed to a change in the trajectory of the design and implementation of research impact assessment in this institution, and it was possible to perform what Mike Power would call a style B assessment, so an assessment which is qualitative, an assessment which uses multiple measures and not only one, an assessment which pays attention to the diversity and the localities, an assessment which aims at collective learning rather than external control. And I guess that it was one of the reasons why this was efficient. So perhaps 4 lessons out of this. The first was that obviously this research impact assessment may be well considered as a trading zone, so it is a very local trading zone. We can locate it in the imperial structure, but actually somehow there is a kind of protection because you do not have to play with the macro power. There is some leeway to just well, through tinkering, muddling through, to just change a little bit a trajectory. Which means that we had to create our own creole, and who creates the creole is well, it's an important way actually. It's not just a co-production. They are some game power around the language, and we struggled a lot with language concepts and so on and so forth. And I guess that it is one of the important part of the job we did, which translates now in the culture of on impact in the institution. Lesson 2. We do not have only to deconstruct, we also have to construct, which is a constraint when we accept to be in this kind of position where we accept to say, yes, okay, we will propose something. And we had to struggle a lot, and well, it's not the end of the story, to invent and construct some methodologies. So, of course, we can, well, we know how to deconstruct the economic language and the economic indicators, but what we did is rather reinforce the other indicators and try to bring some robust methodologies to say, how can we measure political impact? So on a scale 1 to 5, it's a very modest measure, but though it's not that obvious. And for all the indicators, we invented local methodologies that we accept will begin more robust when they will be used. So lesson 3, it's well related to the standardization of case studies. Actually, the importance when you are in such a context to have a way to generalize the results, because if you are always into case studies, well, the manager say, okay, yes, but so what is the end of the story? So at the beginning of the exercise, actually, we had a very strong pressure in the institution and well, kind of fight with agricultural economists who have a lot of power in this kind of institution, and they said, okay, we have just to produce the internal rate of return, and actually we just have to have one data, and obviously, with our approach, we cannot produce only one data. Actually, you have to show the complexity of the things, the complexity of the impact pathway, the fact that it is multidimensional, and so on and so forth. But actually, for many reasons, we were able to win this kind of battle, not the war, but just a very local battle. And lesson 4, actually, when you do this type of job, what is very important is the process of interestment and enrollment. And we paid a lot of attention to bring different actors of the institution into the game. And actually, it was really a success. But it was really necessary to have this process of interestment. So it's not just about the production of knowledge, it's also the production of the interestment through the production of knowledge, which is the 101 A&T lesson that we applied in this in his experience. So to finish with perhaps what does it change? I think that approaching the impact of research this way means that we have to take care for the implications and for our responsibilities as researchers and as a research organization. And I guess that it is a fantastic opportunity for STS scholars, because I guess that there are some openings in many institutions related to this, and so it's just consider that science is not neutral, so it's obvious for us, but institutionally it's not that obvious. But related to the discursive matrix of the big challenges, I guess that there are some openings. And to finish with, actually, this leads to take seriously the different missions of research organization, not only production of knowledge, but also contributions to social changes. And I guess that it is very important to have this type of approach and to develop them, to nurture them, in order to have somehow a change of, well, perhaps culture or mindset of the organization and the people who live within them. Okay, this is the end of my talk. Thanks very much for your attention.
Again, we have time for a couple of questions. Ari?
I may be sort of asking questions which I should save up for my comments later on. But towards the end, you were talking about what does it change, and you referred to some actor network concepts of enrollment and interestment, but you also said perhaps culture, and I was reminded of Andy's emphasis at one moment of the material implications of discursive practices, discursive structures, he said. So I was wondering how you would sort of locate his overall framing of the situation with your own experience. Was INRA something that had this sort of one-track progress in mind, and are you deconstructing that in the way you were also deconstructing the approach of the agricultural economists? Or were you trying to do other things? So I'm asking for a continuation of your last sentences.
Yes, okay. I think that the main, well, it's a rough answer, and we should develop that. But well, and to say it very briefly, actually, INRA comes. It was created as a mission-oriented organism, and so there is a kind of culture of the interaction with its milieu, and as the milieu is diverse, there is a sense of diversity. Of course, most of the efforts of INRA historically were oriented toward this idea of modernization of agricultural through universal science and the transformation of the farmers and their activities. Now it's a bit changing. So one of the triggers of change is well, academic capitalism. So we changes in the behavior and the mindset of the researchers, who are more interested in, to say it roughly, in their age index than in the transformative capacity of their research, and they tend just to say, yes, it's not our task. We just do neutral research. So INRA came to mode 2, from mode 2 to mode 1. So what is important is to bring back this issue of yes, we are responsible of some changes, and we have to care about these changes. So the main issue was around this, and of course, I guess that this idea that there are different ways to intervene, and that there are some conflicting issues. Actually, nowadays, well, because INRA was very much affected by GM controversy, mad cow crazes, and so on and so forth. So there is a tendency to say, yes, that's not so easy, and the actors may have some views, conflicts, and controversies on what we do as researchers. So it is really the change is the reconnection of research to impact, which is a key issue in this type of organization. Obviously, for plant plant molecular biologists, it's a drama. Because the only way they can justify is basic knowledge nowadays. So if you say, yes, but what are the changes related to that apart GMOs, which is stuck in Europe? So there are a lot of interactions on that. Yes.
Thank you very much. Per Benoit, thank you very much for your really inspiring talk. I have one really more technical question to this typology of impact pathways. So my question is, how did you build these indices of co-production of knowledge? No? Co-production of knowledge indices, the transformation of user sphere index. So I did not really understand how these indices are formed, are constructed. And the second question would refer to the part, how do you use this typology? What is the specific message you get out by using this typology? Do you learn something about the internal diversity of this institute, this INRA, or what is the main goal to build this one? Thank you very much.
So very briefly on the methodology, actually, all is in the impact pathway. So for each case study, we have a very detailed and standardized way to look at the different interactions. So actually, the mechanism which generate impact are chains of translations. And so we look very precisely at the productive configuration at the left and all the translations which occur, and it's not a linear model, blah, blah, blah. So actually when we do that, we build some database, and we have all cases are described by around 100 variables. And it's using these variables that we construct the index of co-production and intensity of transformation. So I want to give you the equation of the index, but it is the way we did. So and then when we have that, actually we can compute the data of the different subsets in order to characterize them and to make an analysis of the main characteristic of the cases. So for the second question, actually, what we first there is an important message which is related to the different positions. So when you are in the type 4, actually, what that we call demand failure, it's situations where the institution has to create some new socio-technical options where there is no demand. So, for instance, low intrant wheat varieties. And when you do that, actually, you have some important transformation, and so it is really a mission of public research organization, if you could follow for instance, Calon 96 on science as a public good. It is the creation of new options, but in this situation, actually, what we show is that there are some very critical elements which affect which are barriers, and so we have to know that. So, according to the different position in the typology, the critical points are very different. So the idea is that, and now it's there's a kind of development related to this on the way the institution may address these critical points or increase the probabilities of productive interaction and impact production, but really so. This is one of the outcome of this. But obviously, actually, we work on this because as it is implemented, and it is very good for researchers. Actually, we have an incrementation of the database which reinforces the robustness of the analysis.